This is Heliodor, or I guess we're calling it Golden Beryl now to kind of make it more marketable of a name. This piece weighs in at 22.7 carats. And this is what I'll be using for our design.
Heliodor, or Golden Beryl, is a part of the beryl family, which includes emerald, aquamarine, morganite, bixbyte or red beryl, and goshenite. Golden Beryl is an undervalued gemstone because it's not a well-known gemstone. But as with other members of the beryl family, Golden Beryl is an excellent choice for jewelry due to its sparkle and its hardness. Because Golden Beryl is not well known, the price tends to vary widely, and in large part, the price depends on the size of the gemstone and the clarity. Golden Beryl was discovered in Namibia in Africa fairly recently in 1910, and today Namibia and Sri Lanka are the locations where most Golden Beryl comes from. But some Golden Beryl is also found in locations including Brazil and Madagascar. I got this large piece of Golden Beryl from Thomas at TMS quite a few years ago. And for those of you who know Thomas, good news. His long-awaited, newly revised website is up and running again. And that is great news. Now this piece of Golden Beryl, although big and clean, is a bit shallow. So I'm going to use a design which I've cut once before called Shallow Pavilion. I like this design for shallow pieces of square-shaped or cushion-shaped rough. The original design was by Long & Steel, and I did modify or tweak that design just a little bit to make a table on the gemstone. The original design can be found on the facetdiagrams.org website, and here's the modified design, which again has a table.
Okay, for our Golden Beryl, to attach it to our dop, I first need to kind of grind a flat spot so that the dop will adhere well to the stone. So I use kind of a rough lap to make nice scratches that the glue will help adhere to the dop. So I use a 320. So I want to just make a flat spot, so get a nice drip going. And just by hand I grind my flat spot. So we have a nice flat spot that we're going to adhere our dop to. So we're ready to mount our Golden Beryl to our dop. Okay, for our Golden Beryl, since we're cutting a cushion design, kind of a square design, we want to put the stone in, which is kind of square, so that the sides are at the 96, the 24, 48, and 72 teeth of our index. That way we'll cut the square stone. So we put it in like that and tighten the set screw here, and we're ready to start cutting our Golden Beryl. Even though this was a rather large piece of rough, it was shallow. So this design, this shallow pavilion cushion cut, is going to work out well for this stone. So I use my 320 grit topper and have preformed it. There's still a little bit more to work out here, so I've got to bring the pavilion down a little bit. I do have enough right now for the crown, so everything's looking good. This corner piece will clean up because there's another tier of girdle facets that'll trim up the edges, and looking pretty good for this design for this stone. Now I'll use the 600 grit topper and continue to preform it. I went ahead and went through all 3 of the pavilion lines of instructions and both of the girdle lines of instruction with my 600 grit topper, just to make sure that I worked through all the issues with the surface of the rough. And so now I'm going to go over the stone again with my 12M lap and continue to cut the stone, and it's looking good right now. It's got plenty of room for the crown, the upper half of the stone, and there's no external issues to work through, so coming along. Okay, using my 12M, I was able to get all the facets on this pavilion lined up the way I want them. They're right where they need to be. So to preform, instead of an 8,000 grit diamond, I'm going to go straight to a 13,000 grit diamond to preform, because I don't have to move the facets virtually at all. I just need to touch them up, pre-polish them, and then we'll go to polish. Okay, I finished polishing the bottom half of our Golden Beryl, so now I'll transfer the stone and cut the upper half. And to transfer the stone, I'm going to use my UV light activated super glue, which has been working great. So in the transfer fixture, I just add a drop, kind of fill the reservoir, the cone-shaped bottom dop with my super glue. And the good thing about this UV activated glue is it doesn't dry like most super glues right away. It doesn't cure until you hit it with the light. So then I push the stone into the dop, tighten the transfer fixture. I move the transfer fixture around a little bit, let gravity kind of do its thing, and make sure that there's a little bit of glue or glue touching the dop as well as the stone, so it gets a nice grip. And then when I'm ready, I hit it with the UV light, and it only takes about 2 seconds to cure. More than enough time. And I know it's dry, touch it with my finger and I don't get stuck to the dop. It's hard as a rock. So I'm ready to start cutting on this stone as soon as I remove the upper half, and I remove that with heat. Okay, I've pre-polished our stone. I've gone over all the facets on the crown with my 12M, about a 1500 grit lap. And if you notice, the last set of instructions, the C6, did not go to a center point. And that means that, one, it's a good thing I've changed the design to put a table here, which will use these C6 as a kind of a frame for the table. But the other thing is, this stone is as wide as it could be given its width. It's not thick, so this shallow pavilion design works great. So I couldn't have made this stone any wider because I'm already just barely have enough to make a table. So the design is coming together well, and this design works well for a stone that is not thick. I finished pre-polishing the upper half or the crown of our Golden Beryl or Heliodor. I have the table left to polish, so I'm going to remove the stone from the spindle of our machine and set it up for a table, to cut the table, and we'll cut and polish the table, and then we'll be finished with our Golden Beryl. Sure is sparkling. Okay, so what I did with my 12M lap is just cut the table until the frame looks good to me, the table and the frame. So I think that small of a frame is just what I need. So now I will go to my 8,000 grit diamond on a zinc lap to pre-polish, and then I'll polish this table up with my creamway lap and cerium oxide, and then we'll be done with this stone. Okay, the table of our Golden Beryl polished right up with my creamway lap and cerium oxide. So now I'll soak the stone in our acetone, weigh it, measure it, and send it off to BOPIE.
Today I cut a beautiful piece of Golden Beryl or Heliodor, which I had bought from TMS a while back. And I am glad that Thomas has his website back up and running. This rough was wide, and although internally clean, it was a little bit on the shallow side. So it was perfect for this design called Shallow Pavilion. Now I did tweak the design using GemCut Studio or GCF software, and I incorporated a table into the design. Nothing wrong with the original design, but my personal preference was to have a table on the gemstone, so I did tweak the design just a little bit. For me, this design is a keeper, and I expect I'll use it again whenever I have a cushion-shaped piece of rough that's a bit on the thin side. In my opinion, this design is suitable for any cutter, even a brand new cutter. I do recommend you give this design a try. And if you do try the design, please let me know how it turns out for you and what material you cut in this design. So please let me know in the comments what you think of this design and of the Golden Beryl, which I cut using this design. And as always, happy fasting, everyone.